Hey folks, welcome. It's Beowulf, and this is Dream versus Serral from the DreamHack Last Chance Group D. And it is the deciders match here. Does Serral move on? Does Dream make the massive upset? But before we figure all things out, I'd like to remind you, of course, to like, comment, subscribe, do all of these wonderful things that really help us out with the algorithm. Allow the channel to continue to grow and do things and put out this content. And if you want to sponsor some of our events, if you want to get your hands on some replay packs, check us out on Patreon. Link is in the description below. But now that we got that one out of the way, let's introduce our players. In the upper left, in the red, he is the Night King, the finisher for Team It's, Serral. And in the bottom right, in the blue, the man from Good Game Gaming, he is Dream. So already, the results of this group are not what you would expect. Again, no spoilers for the rest of the group. You haven't seen the VODs, but Serral's in the decider match. That's where we are right now. And while this is, every group at DreamHack Last Chance was stacked to all hell, Serral is not a player you really ever expect to see in a decider match like that. So that's where we are, and we're going to have to see what exactly Dream has in store for us in this series. Generally, as far as I've seen Dream, he's somewhat of a bio player. By the way, just to throw that out there, this was a pool first from Serral. Potentially worried about any sort of 2-Rex play, but also Berlingrad has a 32-second rush distance, natural to natural. It's or I think it's 33 and 31 if you knock the minerals out. What this means is Serral can theoretically get across the map, avoid the Reaper, except the Reaper actually will not see that. No, it will. Okay, never mind. So the Reapers will see this, which means that the natural on the low ground is not really going to be contested all that much. 2 Lings will filter out, and they will try to find something, maybe, but at the very least, they will stay alive. Value, not exactly what Serral was looking for in this game. So the natural of Dream will complete. It will not be delayed in any way, although, getting the Reaper does mean, or pushing the Reaper back does mean there's less pressure on the map. It means Serral can get his creep tumor out just a little bit more developed than he might otherwise be able to do, which is going to be nice. Doesn't really validate the 15 pool that Serral went for, but, it is there. And Dream, he's taking no chances on this one. He says, look, Serral, I know you went for 6 Lings off of a 15 pool. I know that there are things that I need to maybe worry about. Maybe you went Roaches. I don't know. But I'm just going to drop a bunker anyways, because I have not seen anything on your side of the field yet. So, you know what? I can always salvage it. I'll get 75 minerals back. It's going to be fine. So that is what he does. But, of course, we know, as the omnipotent ones here, or excuse me, the omniscient ones, man, being all powerful would be cool. But now we are just all knowing in this game of StarCraft. We know that Serral has not gone for anything like that. It's just a third base. It is standard macro play out of a pool first, just to try to delay the command center. Doesn't put Serral that far behind. Yeah, it does mean his third base is a little bit slower. It means the creep spread outside of his third, which is arguably even more important than the base itself, it's going to be a little bit slower. But other than that, Serral is totally fine here. And the Hellions, they're going to shark around, but really they're not going to be able to accomplish too much here. Actually, it looks like Dream... Okay, so he will continue Hellion production. He's going to go up to 6 or 8. We're just going to have to see how much he can deny. Also, of note, by the way, this is not going to be Hellion Banshee, which should be noted strictly because that is kind of the meta here, but, well, the only tech lab is researching stem. So it's just going to be pure Hellion with, the 1 Reaper. We're going to see a couple extra barracks come down here. And this is just Dream getting ready for his mid-game push. Not a lot of pressure on the map, but honestly, Serral's kind of already done that to himself by getting that pool, getting the pool first. And when you're kind of a little bit more condensed in the natural base, in the natural couple bases, as Serral is, it's harder to remove the creep spread. Even as I say that, Hellions will find a creep tumor. They will be able to bounce some of these queens off of creep. And the Viking actually is not going to be able to get anything, but not for lack of trying. Transfuse will actually be spent on the Overlord. Oh, this is, wait, is that 8 racks? No, okay, standard 5 racks. The interesting thing actually from Dream is I believe he does have double eBay. Double eBay? No, yeah, okay, no, yeah, he's just gonna go for a big 5 barracks push in this game. It's only gonna be single bear or a single eBay, so +1, no +1 armor. Combat shields on the way. We're stim already done. And he's gonna be trying to look for kind of the type of push that you see hitting Protoss a lot of the time, but well, Serral's a Zerg, and he already has put himself slightly behind anyways. Nice attempt to surround there from those Zerglings, but not really getting too much to show for. Just a couple deadlings getting roasted around. Nothing's going to be able to run through the wall here. It is a full one. We're just kind of playing the waiting game at this point. We're all sitting here on tenterhooks, on bated breath, trying to figure out what exactly Dream, or when, really, Dream is going to pull the trigger here, make something happen. For now, Serral, his lair is done, but Baneling speed has not yet been started. Really being as greedy as he can, but also he can afford this right now. And we're starting to get to the point where I'm a little bit worried because this push from Dream, 5 barracks before a 3rd command center, does mean that it will be rather committed. And especially considering the fact that he has skipped a 2nd eBay, he has skipped +1 armor. This +1 stim combat shield timing is going to hit like a freight train. And I don't know that Serral is aware of this just yet. And of course, with it being Berlingrad, even if Serral scouted this coming out, he still will not have a ton of time to defend, to get ready. So 1-1 now on the way for Serral. It's going to be very late in the context of this game. Certainly it's not going to be able to counter what Dream has gone for whatsoever. Baneling speed is about halfway done. Give him 30 seconds. He's going to be in a decent spot. But for right now, it's hard. The tank is already sieged up. So much of the creep has already receded. And the army of Dream is pushing forward. And notice Dream understands Serral's win conditions. He says, look, if I'm going to push this hard, I'm actually going to keep my army home. I'm not exactly going to parade push. Instead, I'm going to keep my army behind the wall because I know you're going to try to run by. I know that may be your attempt to pull me back. But that is not what is happening in this game. Serral, he's just diligently waiting for Baneling Nest. Or excuse me, for Baneling speed. That 1-1, it's not exactly relevant here, but Serral, he's going to do a good job getting on top of the reinforcements, maybe, but the target fire on the Banes is going to get every single one, so nothing doing on the bottom side. Dream, his army is big enough that now it's going to come filtering on in here. Liberator's just trying to zone out the Queens as well as they can, maybe get a couple Banelings on the eventual engage, but Baneling speed is now done. I don't believe that Serral can possibly wait for 1-1 here. A couple Queens have already gone down, and Serral, what can he do? How can he break this chokehold that Dream has bought himself into? At this point, Dream can move forward far enough, and here we go. Here's the engage from the north to south. Baneling's filtering in, but Dream, his micro is impeccable, and that's just that. GG, Dream. Making it look easy. Takes game number 1. So now, we meander, we wind our way. Actually, we go straight as an arrow into game number 2 because that game 1, it was quick, it was brutal, it was ruthless. It was all of these words that we can use to express violence because that is what Dream did. He woke up and he chose violence, at least in game number 1 on Berlingrad. The pool first attack from Serral did not accomplish anything, and then that 5 racks +1 stim combat shield timing, it cut the kneecaps off of Serral. In fact, it cut the legs off. It cut him off at the torso. He had no leg to stand on. And so he died. But Hardwire is a bit bigger of a map. It is a map that allows you to maybe be a little bit safer. It means rallies from the Terran player take a little bit longer to run across the map. And as there are, 3 or 4 discrete attack patterns, it does enable run-bys just maybe a little bit easier. So I think this game is going to go a little bit later. Certainly, it's not going to end in the first big push, I don't think. That doesn't really tend to happen anyways. But on top of that, what I'm really curious about seeing is whether we see Dream going for mech in this game number 2. And the reason I throw that out there, even as Dream is a famous bio player, is because we've been seeing all manner of Terrans throw mech out against Zerg, specifically here at DreamHack Last Chance, but kind of in general in EPT Cups and things like that. It's almost like they have collectively remembered that mech exists and that it can be good. And really, there is, well, maybe Glittering Ashes, but there is no better map in the pool right now for mech than than this map right here. That is Hardwire. And by the way, I said no pool first. I lied. It is pool first after all. Zerglings here on the map. And I believe, yeah, Dream has opened with the Reaper. But this time, it looks like Serral, yes, he is. Shh. Be very quiet. We're hunting aardvarks. Actually, we're hunting Zerglings. But point being, Serral has managed to circumvent the path of the Reaper. But Dream is, man, I don't know what he saw. Maybe something with the SCV. Actually, I think he saw something with the... Wait, did he SCV scout? No, he is not. I don't know what he has seen, but it was enough to force the Reaper back home. But even still, they're not going to find the Zerglings, which does mean now, as Serral scouts the Zergling, he's going to be able to run in, cause some havoc. But you got to remember, the natural is done. The time that Serral had to delay things, not really there anymore. So instead, he says, okay, maybe I can get a couple SCVs. Maybe I can actually, getting a reactor would be rather nice, but it looks like he's going to give up on that. Too many Marines, or potential for too many Marines on the high ground. But certainly he is denied mining for the time, and losing, what, 2 Zerglings, 50 minerals, and, you know, opportunity cost, of course, for going for this opener, for denying Dream the use of his natural for a solid minute or two, or 30 seconds maybe, is valuable. It's certainly more than he got last game. Not as much as he would have liked, but certainly more. And I gotta give a shout out to Dream here for the star sense, the preparation. Not exactly sure, but he was far more reticent with that Reaper than you usually see. Whereas, you know, most of the time you see, if pro players see someone do something in a game, you can almost assume that they're not going to do it again. So the fact that Serral did this twice in a row and Dream was prepared for it is pretty impressive. But in this game, of course, because Serral was able to get a little bit of commensurate damage from his push, Baneling Nest is going to be a little bit earlier. Actually, I guess this is roughly what he got it last game. But he's going to be in a little bit better spot, even if he just does lose that Overlord and finds himself minorly supply blocked for a time. But Zergling speed is done, and that means these Hellions can't really get too far on creep. But look at this. We got 2 interesting things. We have gas taken at the natural at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. It's not double gas. So it's not a 100% guarantee that it will be mech. But it is a gas, and we got a fusion core on the way. Oh, never mind, double gas. So, folks, it's Hardwire. It's a TVZ. It's Dream, but he is playing mech here in this game number 2. Hardwire is a great map for it. And Terran players have been showing us this is pretty strong against how Zergs tend to play. I don't know if it's objectively strong, but it is... It does appear to be strong against the current meta. But with that battlecruiser underway, Serral has no intention of pushing, no intention of punishing a tech that he is not aware of. So for now, the game continues. Serral, he actually is doing a really good job of expanding his creep past his core 3 bases. I don't know whether he's going to take his 4th kind of at the more secluded triangular 3rd position or on the high ground for the 4th, but he's going to put himself in a really nice position to take this 4th. But you got to remember, any sort of mech play is or mech or anti-mech play is a battle of escalation. The Zerg player wants to stay 1 to 2 bases ahead of their opponent at all times just because of how the economy works. A mech player wants to get to 6 to 8 gases, is very happy with their life. But this is interesting. So Serral has not scouted anything. He has just decided, okay, well, I think Spire is a good thing to do. I don't believe he has seen anything that would tell him that this is mech. Although the battlecruiser is going to teleport in now. No queens are here, but there is a spore. And I mean, there is 1 queen, I guess, but there's certainly the majority of them not quite where they need to be. So this queen should go down here, actually. But here's the damage that Dream is looking for. A bunch of Hellions into the 3rd base. 7 workers go down. Splits are going to ameliorate some of that, but not enough here. Baneling's even getting good connections, but it's only 2. It's not 3. So many of these Hellions, they're going to stay alive. All the Lings go down. The battlecruiser is going to stay alive as well. 14 drones. Pay the iron price. Actually, that number is going to be more. Nice little transfuse. Means that it's only 1 more. 15 drones. They die. Blood for the blood god indeed. But already this was a Serral who was maybe not in the best economic position. I mean, he was droning up fine to be sure, but, you know, his 3rd base was a little bit later than your standard hatch gas pool timing because he went for pool first. And everything after that does delay things slightly. Oh, and by the way, Dream in the Natural, he saw there was a Spire on the way. So he is going to know what he needs to do to respond to things, although for right now, it's just battle cruisers, tanks. I would expect to see missile turrets pop up at some point. And there we go, Yamato Cannon teleport. Oh man, that's so cheeky from Dream. He knew, Yamato Cannon was on the way. So instead of just teleporting home when he was very low, because, mutas were an eventuality, he just waits for Yamato and then the TP. Kind of edge testing, as it were. And it worked out for him. Or limit testing. There we go. That's the word we're looking for. Now, second Yamato has arrived, but at this point, Serral has a metric ton of queens. We already got, 8 queens on the field right here on the front. Then a couple more, of course, at the bases. 4 injects. And because Serral has realized what type of game this is, he's sitting that D key on top of getting, of course, the mutas. We should see him, especially if he's going to play this Mutiling Bane style, we should see him go up to probably 95, 96 workers and just run floods and floods and floods of units into the mech army. But this style is, Widowmine? Yeah, Serral's going to lose a meter or two. This style is not nearly as popular as it once was for a while, for a month. Raynor and Serral were both doing this and just crushing any mech attempt. But that was 2 Baneling nerfs ago. Now, with Banelings really barely just tickling any non-light units, this style of Mutiling Bane against mech does not feel nearly as good as it once did. Yeah, you can wipe out the Hellbats with the Banes, but you can't run Banes into clumps of Thors. Can't run Banes into tanks all that easily. I mean, they do damage, but they just do not do enough. So it kind of just really, really invalidates things. But anyway, the mutas are going to try to find their way into this third base here. Get a couple workers here or there before the missile turrets get dropped. And Dream is one of those players, even if we're not exactly seeing it right now, who has no shame in dropping 5 missile turrets. So now we're going to see some battle cruisers run across the map. Of course, with Yamato, they can just go and snipe a couple queens back out, something like that. But we are, I think, going to start to see Serral transition out of this Mutiling Bane idea. It's kept him safe in the early game. It's kept him safe in the mid game. But at this point, it's not going to do all that much for him. So it looks like it will be Swarm Host play here, as a couple queens will find their doom. And as the mutas look to fly in, well, he can just teleport home. So these battle cruisers, yeah, they're not, I mean, they get something. They get 300 minerals. And honestly, battle cruisers, they play a lot like the Swarm Host that Serral is trying to get here. You run them in, you get a little bit of damage, you run them out, you're fine, you do something with it. Timers later, 45 seconds, a minute, whatever the timer is for your respective unit of usability, and then you move in from there. But now Serral is going to try to find his way in, and those Widow Mines, though, they will deny that. And Thors as well. Of course, it takes 3 Thor shots to kill a muta, to kill any number of mutas. So you got to be careful as Thors do start to hit the field. We are at 2 of them right now, so enough to DPS, but not enough to really annihilate the mutas. But 3 more are on the way. This timing that Serral's looking to hit here, with Banelings running on in, I guess, to deal with the Hellbats, and then the Locusts flying behind that. That actually does make a lot of sense. It's a very tight one, because these mutas are not relevant, or not going to be relevant as the main army force anymore. There we go. Locusts are now going to fly into this 4th base. And this is what's important here. Serral, as long as the mech player is on 3 bases, he doesn't really care all that much. But when the mech player hits 4, that's when it gets to 8 gas. That's where things become intensely problematic. But look at this. It's an orbital. It's not a planetary. I don't know whether Serral or whether Dream, saw these Swarm Hosts before they revealed it the first time. But that is a brilliant move in this game. Planetaries, they die. They die to Locusts, and Swarm Hosts are, 2 parts of the same parcel. You can just lift an orbital. You can be very happy with that, as we will see the mutas. They're going to find this battle cruiser, 2 Yamatos, and then teleports. The rest of them just teleport home just a little bit later. So mutas giving their lives for the cause here. A bunch of Locusts are going to drop on these on the Cyclones, but I think the Cyclones did get the better trade. Another tank will go down, though, so it's something. Serral is managing to trade, and he's not too far down. He's only about 2,000 resources down and resources lost, but honestly, his economy has not been that. It is now. It's good now. It's on 5 bases. But it has not really been that insane here. As another Locust will attempt to swoop down, make some value happen, but well, tanks are just a little bit too fast. There is no creep. So the Mutas at this point, sharking around. I don't know how much damage they're going to be able to accomplish for the rest of this game. But they still are a viable harassment force here. And that is something. Baneling's looking to roll in on top of the Hellions, Hellbats, and actually a bunch of these Cyclones will go down here. Baneling's just rolling in saying, I don't actually want these Thors. These Thors kind of suck. But, you know, we can make it happen regardless. Here's the Mutas. Realizing that actually the army of the Terran is in the middle of the map means that this base on the bottom side, on the high ground position, is probably forfeit. But Serral saying, actually, wait a minute here. I need these Mutas to take this fight. I need to be able to prevent Dream from killing me. So we're going to have to see how good the magic box is. Already, some of these Mutas getting softened up. Already, their healing is being delayed. But we got a massive flank, massive surround coming in from Serral. Locust diving in from every side. Mutas are going to look to magic box as well here. Can Serral beat the Terran back? Baneling's not making the best connections. But now the Hellbats, and they're going to get exploded here. More and more Locusts diving on in because Serral, he absolutely staggered his waves here. Thors are going down. Actually, only one Thor remains, which means these Mutas, they will reign supreme. Just not enough anti-air in this army. Any more Mutas, they're going to dive on top of the battle cruisers that, by the way, teleported in. So they're all going to go down here. The army of Dream on the ground is going to do what it can, try to make something happen here. But the Zerglings, they're filtering in. They're killing everything. A massive fight for the Finnish Phenom here in this game number 2. If we look at resources lost, well, actually, it's about 1,000 resources in Dream's favor. But if we look at supply, Serral has wiped out that army of Dream, and now he wants to do something about it. He has to actually go and make this matter. Knock a base down, knock down some economy, because otherwise, I mean, if you can't break the Terran and you're just trading worse, even if you do trade better in supply for a time, well, it doesn't work out all that well for you. Now, there is 1 Thor, 2 Thors in this game, but Serral stacking his Mutas to try to kill these, kill the Hellbats faster, but instead, that means he ate 2 or 3 Thor shots and lost a lot of Mutas very quickly. And I'm kind of surprised here. Dream knows the game now. He's building 4 Thors at a time. These are soon to be 3 Thors. And Serral's building more Mutas. Mutas are good. I mean, at nipping at the edges, but when we look at these late game anti-mech compositions, it just doesn't really cut it here, as the Widowmines will burrow and knock down the lings. But a tank goes down. It's going to be nice. And there we go. So Locust moving in now. But actually, I love this this minefield of Widowmines just out in front of things. It's going to do, theoretically, a really good job of dealing with the Locust, but instead it's going to be a dead tank. Now the Mutas are going to try to dive on top of these Thors, but there are 5 Thors here. You're not killing that. These Mutas, yeah, they're going to get, what, 1 Thor? I think maybe they got a second with the Mutas plus the Locusts. But that was so expensive. That was like 30 Mutas down to 10. And what was once 3,000 resources is now 5. And by the way, this is not a game where the Zerg players kind of like nipping at the edges and building a bank, and it's a nice time. Serral does not have a bank. Even if he is out mining Dream and resources per minute, he has nothing to remax on. Notice it's taking him a while here as the Widowmine will burrow successfully, but it is going to be able to split it up. It's only 1 Widowmine anyway, so it's just a single dead Muta. And these Locusts, they will dive just a little bit too early, so as the tanks get their shots off, they're not going to get too much done. Damage on Thors, damage on tanks, but not much more than that. And it feels like we're rapidly hitting critical mass for mech. So normally, not normally, but often mech players will go for a 2-2 timing. They'll max out on kind of Hellbat tank Thor or something like that. Not a lot of Thors, but kind of that push that we saw Dream do with 2-2. You just hit this massive power spike and have some fun with it. But that didn't work. Actually, Serral took the best fight of the game, sweep that army from the map, but now we're at 3-3 for mech. Now we're at the point where Dream can afford 9 Thors. And by the way, 9 Thors, or Thors in general, do more DPS at 3-3 than DTs do. So, again, that's a lot of damage, and they're tanky as anything. But now the Mutas, they have found the main. So, you know what they say, you camp the Terran's production, you camp the game here. But actually, that's going to be a free Thor right there. Nice job on the Locust, swooping on in. They only have +2. +3 is done in a second. And these Thors will start to go down, but of course Thors do ludicrous damage, really, against structure. So that is going to be a dead base as well. Serral knocked back down to 5 bases, which is what Dream has. So Dream's on 5 bases. He's on 10 gas. And that means he can pretty much afford whatever he wants. And folks, we're seeing something rather rare in the mech paradigm. He's floating gas. He doesn't have enough minerals. Versus bio, I mean, with bio you see this all the time, but with mech, less so. I mean, now the Locusts are going to dive into this base, but again, we're seeing Dream, he just did that thing with, well, his 3rd base is what you expect, with the 4th base, and I'm actually curious. Okay, so he did planetary the 5th. But, yeah, just, with Locusts arrive, you just lift your orbital, and you're totally fine. Okay, so now these Ravagers will find Thors, but at this point, the Thors are just, they're too expensive. They're not something that this Roach Ravager composition can deal with right now. I mean, maybe if they land all their biles, but otherwise, no, not really. But now actually we're at a point here where the Locusts can actually find some sort of value because it is a planetary. They're going to land on that and surround it. A mass repair is going to do what it can, but these are +3 Locusts. They will kill this base. I think. No, the repair's good enough. Actually, never mind. Okay. Dream will be able to keep the base alive, only losing 9 SCVs in the process. And he's got mules, so he's pretty happy with that one here. As now we're going to have the army of Dream looking to move on forward here. The last of the muters, they just get evaporated. Honestly, at this point, Serral wants to remove them. He wants to trade them out for slightly more useful supply. But what's his tech? I mean, he has no Neurals. He actually has no Infestors. He has no Vipers. So he really is relying on these massive amounts of Swarm Hosts to get something done. But I can't help but feel that for the most part, the time of the Swarm Host is done here, even as the Locusts are taking a pretty good fight here. And the Bailings, the Biles are going to reign supreme on the entire army of Dream. Everything I said about him having, you know, this army that's uncontestable, well, it's mostly incorrect, but it looks like at the end of things. Anyways, Serral takes game 2. And folks, we're moving on to a rubber match. All right, so here we are. It is, in fact, game number 3. Not 1. Not 2. Dream took game 1 in what could only be described as dominant fashion, knocking down Serral with a 5 racks +1 stim combat shield timing and making it look absolutely easy. But of course, Serral, he had some small part to play in that endeavor, opening up with a pool first that got just about nothing done. Game 2, similar idea. Serral's opens up with a pool first play. He gets a little bit more done in that he forces the Reaper back home and, you know, is able to maybe expand himself just a little bit quicker. But in general, you know, it doesn't get too much done with that. Goes into the late game, is able to knock down the meching player that is Dream. And now we find ourselves just about half an hour later in game number 3. It's Pride of Altaris. It's a map that, honestly, I'm kind of surprised it got through the picks and the bans. Because you talk to anyone, and they'll tell you that this is a very Zerg favored map. You have the gold base, you have all these ramps. It is somewhat shorter, and that is something that Terran players can take advantage of. And then, of course, the Xel'Naga Tower in the middle. But there's just so much open space in the middle of the map that it's hard for a Terran to really get their push going. Now, we've seen Maru beat Serral on this map back at King of Battle Grand Finals. But that was a game where he had to work actually, in all fairness, every single game that he played was a game that he had to work very hard for. But this one in particular, because again, you take the gold as your 3rd, as your 4th, you get your creep in the middle of the map as Serral, and then, I mean, there are no chokes. There are these, the line of sight blockers right here, but it is really hard to start pushing in. Now, of course, if you get to the gold itself, you got a little bit more of a pushing avenue, but by then the Zerg will have knocked these rocks down. And have just opened up so many different avenues to attack through, to attack into. The other thing we should talk about before this game gets started in earnest is that for the first time in this series, Serral has in fact opened hatch first. He has gone hatch gas pool, No pull first play, no shenanigans, but he has trained Dream that the Reaper needs to stay home. He said, look, I've done this 2 times in a row, therefore I'm going to do it 3 times in a row. You need to be careful. So the Reaper's going to stay home for a time. It means Dream is going to get just about no pressure on the map with this first Reaper. The creep spread is going to be able to be established as he wishes. And in all honesty, Dream would have been well served to open up Marine first in this game, considering how much pressure he has been able to, well, actually not achieve. But regardless, it looks like it's going to be Hellion Banshee play for Dream in this game 3. You know, if you don't get too much pressure done with the Reaper. Granted, Reapers don't do much in the early game outside of an APM sink and force the creep spread to be a little bit slower. But still, having that Reaper is incredibly useful to go with the Hellions. It's something that can tank a couple Queen Spines and then survive and recover, because it does have that healing, which means that the Hellions just get more value over the course of the game. And I'm sorry, I said it was going to be Hellion Banshee. That is not correct. We see a similar build, in fact, the exact same build, I believe, compared to what we saw in game number 1. Quick stim, a Viking out, and I assume eventually 1 eBay, 5 racks pressure, you know, the same thing that killed Serral really easily in game 1. But we also got to remember here, game 1, Serral went for that 15 pool. He did something that was, you know, rather aggressive and got no damage here, but Dream's not going to try to dive on in. It's 4 Hellions just looking to punish Serral for not having enough links early, but the drone surround is actually going to be very good, and at the end of the day, 2 workers go down and a little bit of mining time for 4 Hellions and a Reaper. Yeah, Serral's actually going to be very happy with that one, and understanding what has happened these last couple games, well, we got Overload Speed on the way. Nothing will be hidden from the mind, from the eyes of the Finnish Phenom here in this game number 3. So he sees the 2 additional barracks going down. He sees the barracks researching things, and Zerglings find their way into the natural. There are only 2 Hellions here because, you know what? Dream spent them on the other side of the map for a minimal gain, so we're going to have to see whether now Serral can do something about this. Will the Hellions go down? How many workers die in the exchange? It looks like actually the answer is no. Nothing's going to really die here, but Serral, he gets a perfect scout. And hey, an extra Marine, he's not going to say no to that one, so he sees the single eBay. He sees the fact that Hellions were still being made, although he only killed 4, so that makes sense. And he just maintains that the Viking is home. But again, a big scout out there for Serral. Big denial of agency on the map for Dream. Even if he had wanted to get active with the Hellion, Viking, whatever, he will move the Viking out on the map. Those Hellions being kept at home means by this point, realistically, they're not going to do too much. There are too many queens out. They have too much energy. The creep is too developed. And developed it is. It's already found its way past the first ramp to the second ramp onto the 4th level. Because, of course, Pride of Altaris is the first map that we've ever had that has 4 tiers, 4 levels on it, which is pretty cool. Although I wish it'd been a slightly more balanced map that would have been made use from this, or would have made use with the extra level here. But anyway, of course, now we see Serral doing what Serral does, and in fact, this actually won't be the +1 stim combat shield timing. Now, maybe this is a reaction to what Serral did scout, but Dream, he's got that second eBay hidden behind his main base, so Serral will not have a great idea. I mean, to his eye, this is exactly what he ran into in game number 1. We see the single eBay, we see the lack of a third, we see 5 barracks, but well, the army will be a little bit smaller because, again, Dream did have to buy the extra eBay. He had to get the extra upgrade. This push from Dream is going to be more powerful. Again, 1-1 is significantly better than 1-0. And it does mean that for a significant portion of this game, Serral will have an upgrade, or will have an upgrade deficiency. He's going to have +1 carapace, but no attack. So it really will all be down to the baneling speed and just to floods and floods of units and queens in good positions. But again, this creep spread from Serral, because of the lack of pressure early, because the Reaper was forced to stay home, because how the game went earlier, is so good. It is so developed into the middle of the map here that it's going to take Dream just about forever and a day to push it. And look at this surround. Serral, he's got this timed out perfectly to when baneling speed is done. And I'm sorry, I said a surround. No, it's going to be an attempted run by here. into the natural of Dream, trying to find some value. The wall is actually not even up right now. No, Dream's not going to let it up whatsoever. Serral maybe making a bit of a mistake by knocking the wall down, but at this point, Banelings come crashing into the natural, knocking down as many SCVs as possible. Dream pulls into them, and so many SCVs will die. Yeah, there's a push now from Dream, but it is all or nothing at this point. 10 workers go down, 11, 12. And the question now is whether Dream will be able to break the third base of Serral, even as the fourth base is already completed. Serral doesn't even need to hold this anymore, but hold it he might. As we wait for more Lings, more Banelings to push on in. +1 Carapace is, of course, done. The Queens are standing strong for now. They still have the transfused energy that they need to survive. And here we go. The surround that we've been looking for Serral in this game. The bio is going to be forced to lift up, dropping down amongst the tanks. For the tanks, they're already going down in this push from Dream. It is done. It is dusted. He's not going to make anything happen with it. And behind that, he's got 33 SCVs. Yes, he has 1-1, but no third base. It's just the rally. No way to stop any additional run-bys. The wall is gone. And considering he's sitting here evenly on army supply with the creep still well developed, it's going to be the work of ages for him to push through and actually make something happen. But again, unfortunately, this is not a game where he can kind of turtle this out and wait and take it later. He does not have that third. His economy, he's not building SCVs. He has absolutely cut production on that one. And Serral not even going to bother with running it into the natural. He knows how much damage he did here. This is just a full flank surround on the army. Tanks getting some good shots off, but it's only a single one here. Banelings connecting on everything, and yeah, the upgrades are not good, but they are good enough. Serral, he takes game number 3, and he moves on to a date with the final match of Group D. When he moves on, lose, he goes home. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you like what I do, of course, please follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Beowulf. And for the second time, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe on this video, do all that fun stuff. It really does help us out. That's it for this series. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you next time.